Yeah, we should. Okay, yeah, we should start, and Dan can join us, I hope. Well, let's approve those April minutes. I don't have any other minutes, and we didn't have the minutes.
No.
Okay, so let's see who was at the April meeting. Evan, Marty, myself, Richard. You probably really remember, don't you? Anyway.
Please make a motion.
Yes, please make a motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, done. We can get those to Robin.
What was the date in April?
April 27th. So I don't know if we know anything else. The second agenda item was update on getting out the vote. I just saw Ann Leslie. She's one of the affected people. Do you know Ann? She was in here just
Is that the same one on the climate?
Yeah,
committee?
no,
Oh, no.
Ann's not on climate.
Well, my, oh, that's Leslie.
Ann Leslie used to be on the light committee with
Conservation Commission.
Marty. But she's one of the affected people. She's still on DSL and was told that everything, she can't even get what she used to get because stuff is more
She
complicated.
lives on Dixon,
I told her you knew all about it.
Right, yeah,
the old stone house.
yep, gotcha.
Yeah, that's Ann. And so she said at least she'd be able to go up and down her road and try to get people to vote for it. I mean, I think.
Seaver doesn't have use.
No, Seaver, they named their first dog Inches because he refused based on his feeling that everything should be, nobody should go to metrics. And he refused to participate in the, anyway, this is being recorded, but yeah, the swimming pool couldn't be a meter, it had to be feet. Most of the pools in Maine are feet. But it's an endearing anecdote about it. So I don't know, I've called a few people, but I have to say myself, I think we're kind of dependent on the vote, which was the most important thing in the budget and the committee and select committee. I think we'll all be surprised if it doesn't pass, given the vote, but if anybody can make some last minute calls, it would be good.
Yep, I've talked to like 35 people.
Yeah, good.
Yep, so.
And was everybody predisposed to vote for it or not? Were they going to vote for it anyway?
I
Or
think it was a lot of people who might not otherwise vote in a municipal election,
oh, I see.
because most people don't.
Yeah,
So I
that's
think the
important.
majority of them are probably maybe like 50-50 were regular voters. The other ones would not know that there's even a municipal one going on.
So if we can think of anybody like that, could we make some phone calls this weekend?
Yeah, just keep it up.
Yeah,
I've, listen, what do I know?
yeah.
Connected.
I haven't contacted anyone I don't know, but I have contacted my acquaintances.
Good.
Good. We don't, do we have any last minute lists that we should try to call? Or is
I've
that-
tried to put that list together I spent probably 2.5 hours on it, and then I handed it off to somebody else to try and make work. So
You didn't.
nothing yet. If it
Well, if you
happens
get
between
something-
now and then I'll send it to you guys.
Okay. Well, I guess we don't have a lot more to talk about on that. Is Dan on yet? or
Nope.
Not on, okay. What else? Well, let's get into the guts of the guidance that was just sent out. Evan's been to all the meetings on it. I listened. I should have attached a copy, but it's on the main connectivity website. And yeah, I didn't attach the PDF, which I should have, but I can circulate that to you. But Evan's been engrossed in this for a while. To some degree, the rules have changed. And not that we were in great shape before, but it doesn't look doesn't look as even as promising, but do you want to walk through?
So you may or may not recall that the last round, they had priority groups. And we were in priority group 3, because the first group is people that have nothing. The second group is people that basically have DSL or nothing. And then priority group 3 is a mix of people that have cable primarily, and then some people without any connection. They've gone away with priority groups, and previously they were funding anything but premises that were already served by fiber. So now there's only funding for people that have nothing, or people that only have DSL and no cable. So if you have cable, then they're not gonna fund that location. That being said, they have a list of eligible expenses, and it's eligible expenses and ineligible expenses for when they apply for, say, 25 homes in Wisconsin, or whatever our number is, I can't remember, and we'll know more on that in July 10th when they update the numbers. But they can, the company can basically apply for engineering expenses, design, marketing, and a lot of network pieces that don't, as long as they don't exclusively go toward underserved people. So besides just the raw amount of people that there are, houses that there are, say, there's a little bit exponentially more that they can get from all of those pods that they're, am I making myself clear?
Yeah, it's the development costs of the project, really. isn't it?
Right, so it's not just $3,000 per household, there's more to it than that.
So they'll get a subsidy that way versus, but they're being asked to pay more per household, correct?
Right. So the minimum last time was 700, and then the maximum for scoring points for financial commitment was an additional 750, for a total of $1,450 for the maximum points on the score, on your scoring your application. Now the minimum has gone up to 1,000, and the additional stayed the same, so instead of 1,450, it's now 1,750 is the maximum contribution for scoring. The first cohort, 9 of the 15 met or exceeded that maximum of 1,450, so we knew when we did the community owned model, when that information came out, that's when we said, well, we know immediately right now we have to double that to even be competitive. That's what we looked at and said, yeah, that's what's going to happen. So I did a couple.
So that puts our vote as almost invalid,
No,
because it puts us out of the
No.
game.
No, it's more on
the company,
Fidium
right.
to
They-
know what they're gonna put in.
They came and advocated for 150 per household, and
Yeah, but what we're asking for is for the whole town,
right,
so they're not willing to grant people money for the cable. So-
right. They're not willing to grant, but the point is that they're almost having to absorb all of the costs anyway. The formula is different, the end result doesn't change too much. So if they knew last time, they knew previously that they were gonna have to put in 2.7 million total with us and them, so we're bringing 283. 2.7 million, they knew they were gonna have to put in, if not more, and I stress if not more, so now they know they have to put in 3.3 million, and they gave us a price tag of 3.9 million. So with that $600,000 gap, there's room for them to get some money, I don't think it's
They got put in
600,000.
283,
Right,
so the grant
283 is
money
included
is,
in the 3.3.
so the only grant money we need is less than Well, less than-
600,000.
But we have so few unserved that it's only gonna hit a very tiny portion.
Right, but we don't know how much, what they can get for eligible expenses in
Right,
that.
right, and that's gonna make a difference.
We had a brief conversation with Simon, they're sitting down with MCA the next couple weeks, and then we were planning, we either got it narrowed down to it's either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday at 10 a.m. at the planning commission, the last week of June, to try and meet with them and try and bring a couple people from each town. And then we'll go from there, just so they'll have their answers, we'll have financial commitments, everything will be official and falls in their court.
So I did listen today to the webinar that you listened to yesterday, I guess, I missed it.
Yep,
It's online. This whole thing about, what's universal service, because, and it's slippery, but it's gonna depend, as Evan was saying, they're the ones that, it's on their shoulders, because we know our town's not gonna do that. And they were trying to say, maybe you can work out a deal where you have better cost benefit. If, going back to a regional model, like maybe if you partner with one of the other towns, but all we do by partnering is worsen those towns' ratios.
Right,
Nobody wants us as a partner.
right. We're
So,
trying to move that beforehand, but.
right, so that, and
That's
I'm
why
listening
we
to this
try to-
guy and I'm thinking, oh yeah, Dresden's gonna get a lot out of partnering with us, that's why they left as fast as they could.
right.
So, so the other question, and we talked a little bit about this, is do they see it sufficiently as a business model for them to cover Wiscasset and not let somebody else get in?
And that's my contention, is basically the state's asking them to come a little bit further. And we're bringing, if all things go right next week, we're bringing pretty significant public commitment that is really hard to replace. So,
Plus, we don't have to do but revenue bonds. I'm listening to all the other stuff that was on that.
sure, all those other people, yeah, all the
And
other,
they've got more uncertainty than we do because it's in the bank.
right.
So,
It makes it complicated, and I think that's something that some people aren't thinking about on that end.
what the delays and the potential, the issues around revenue bonds.
Right.
Mhm.
Like specifically, there's, between the Down East Broadband utility, which is in Callis-Baileyville area, and the East Grand Lake area where they built consolidated, there's like 35 miles of towns, probably like 6 small towns with total less than, I would say total less than 2,500 people in like a 6-town area.
Does that are you including Eastport? Or-
Yeah, so that bumps it up there, and that's another category, we'll say, because they're at least.
The guy in Perry didn't seem too pleased either.
And I talked to somebody else and they're not really sure how that's going, so it's hard to say who's actually bringing funding into this from a municipal standpoint, other than our group significantly. I don't know if anybody else has really approved a whole heck of a lot. I think,
Wallace, right?
right, that's what I'm saying, our 310 group, and then Orland, which is next to Ellsworth, and that's, I don't know who else is really, they have a vote this weekend, I don't know what they're voting on.
Is Ellsworth already moving ahead? Do they already
They've
have it?
already been somewhat built, probably
Who's building them?
consolidated. It's not consolidated, it's nobody. So I'm not as pessimistic as what I'll say as a lot of other people, I think,
Yeah, Marcy and Christian
yeah,
are dismayed.
yeah. But they were in a bad, they were starting from a negative anyway, so it's hard to say from our perspective.
The other thing that Evan pointed out is, we have the warrant and you have to do what the warrant says.
Yeah, that's what I was,
So you can't, it has to be universal service in
Right.
that warrant.
right,
And that's what people expected, that's what I thought it was gonna be. Dusty, Heather kept asking about it, even right before we, even during the hearing. Simon said, yes, they would build out to the whole town. And, that would be a problem.
But that was before the change.
Right, but that would be a problem on the warrant to possibly have to go do it again.
I don't think it will be a problem, it will either happen or it won't, just like with the grant. So they don't get the money unless they're contractually obligated to build the whole thing.
Oh, I see, but the state is still requiring that standard. I
No,
didn't,
we require
no,
that.
we require it,
Right,
but the state doesn't.
sure,
Yeah,
Yeah.
they could still cherry pick if they could get away with it.
yeah, totally.
So what if we pass that, would we get the 100,000 from the county anyway?
Yep.
So if they expanded only to this unserved, it wouldn't be as big a project.
No,
It's almost nothing
So,
compared.
yeah, that $100,000 would go towards that,
Yeah, but
possibly, no?
somebody would probably raise eyebrows about that too, all that money going to that small amount of people.
I don't think that that's going to look like that.
Well, they can build out as they go. I mean, she asked, Sarah asked that question, who's head of this division for Fidium or for Consolidated, to reinforce that, you know, if you're going that way, like down 27 through those area that's not built, you can build out the unserved on the way.
Oh,
But I don't think the state still isn't gonna pay for it, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that they're not going to pay for drops to those houses, and they're not gonna pay for lateral passings by the homes, but they might pay for switches, controls, parts and pieces in the central office, and there's exponentially more than just drops and equipment to the unserved places.
Yeah.
It's up to the company to figure that out.
Yeah, so really it lies with them and what they can get out of it for all those other fees that they, or the other subsidies that they collect. And did they spell out, was that in this, where was that, in the guidance of what they could, specifically they could get? I mean, I've got the guidance
I
here.
can actually tell you exactly what it is.
it's pretty unfair to change the rules of the game midstream when everybody's
Yeah, that was,
has
what-
their elections. and-
that's what Christian was, that he had kind of almost the last word today.
And pretty much, yeah, everybody feels like that, just like, all right, well, everybody goes in with one expectation and leaves with another, but that's what happens when you know, they said they were originally gonna award $20 million in that first round of projects, and they started with 50 million. So we already knew that things are going downhill from there.
Plus, you know, I mean, they're figuring out a new program. I mean,
But
it's
see,
not,
the other program's gonna offer 50,000 for the very unserved, so the very unserved are already connected.
not all,
Where's that
not
40
all of
million?
them are, though.
Where's that 50 million going?
No, I mean, not all of them are all connected. Some people weren't ready in that
Yeah.
initial round.
Or- Yeah, well, now, I'm talking about the next round after this one,
The BEAD funding,
the
Oh, the
big,
BEAD
yeah.
funding.
yeah, there will still be over 25 or 30,000 people that,
Andrew said today on that call, on that webinar yesterday, there's something like 42,000 people they've counted
yeah.
dispersed in
So
different places.
if they even get to 10,000 on this next one, which is 20 million divided by 10,000 is $2,000 a house, so that's like,
Is that what it costs usually?
that's ballpark for how much they'll probably pay out for these houses, so that's a wait and see. Would you like to know the eligible expenses?
Yes.
Okay. This is not an exhaustive list. Expenses include professional services or staff costs necessary for implementation, including engineering, consulting, environmental, cultural, legal, accounting, and project management costs needed to design, build, and test the proposed network. All of the reasonable permitting and make-ready and other one-time facility, pole, and conduit licensing costs. outside plant costs, including materials and labor to install fiber strand lashing, splice cases, splicing and other outside plant needed to offer last mile services, which to me, even if you're starting from their central office on Water Street, and now you've built the Bradford Road, the labor, the pole replacement, anything out to make ready to move lines, all of that so far is covered.
Why do you say Bradford Road?
Just as an
Because I'm
example.
saying they're moving, you go from the central office, you're going up Bradford Road, because that's where all the unserved people are up on Cooler Pit Road, and then a couple on Dickinson, and then they're sporadically spread out across the town. So let's just say they're going from Water Street to Cooler Pit Road on Bradford Road, or Lowell, that's off Lowell Town Road. Equipment and costs, including core optical and networking equipment needed for backhaul and middle mile and last mile services such as optical line terminals, splitters, routers, switches, network monitoring equipment, and customer premise equipment, facility costs, shelters and cabinets, they already have that, cost to operationalize the network, costs associated with collecting and measuring performance data, documented internal labor costs, so it's exponentially more than just the equipment that's going to these houses, and that's up to the company to be like, okay, this is actually, we can wrap in that this is actually gonna cost to spread out a little bit of the cost over the thing. I don't think it's if they could get 500, if they could get $300,000 to $500,000 for a town like ours, which I don't know if they're getting that, but that's almost, they're at almost an impossible to say no situation, in my opinion. I don't know how they could possibly walk away, but I've been wrong before.
So are there any unserved up Federal Street?
Oh, I mean, cable goes right up Federal Street. From
All the
what I
way
understand.
to the border?
All the way, what, down
To the
to,
home and border.
Probably.
yeah, I mean, it's easy, once you're going up there, it's not hard, but most of the houses are right off Federal.
For years, there was, pretty much all of West Holland Road wasn't served, but they put that up during the pandemic. But there was some in that area.
Because 27, you have the unserved
Right at the end.
way at the end.
That's what you're saying, you come over from Dickinson onto 27 and serve the rest of it after that, in terms of where everything.
But if they don't, if Foy is, how are they gonna get to Dickinson?
Yeah. There's a few.
They go up Bradford,
Unserved, there's a few unserved on the map, but they're sporadically spread out, so there's,
you go only Bradford and 27 to get those unserved. It cuts out.
Well, they
a
can
lot
go,
of
they can
town.
take Rumfield, whatever that thing is that cuts right over and ends up at Dickinson.
Rumble, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what they do.
I think all of them have cable. And then it's just the one on Dickinson Road, and then it's sporadic,
Ann says it's more than Dickinson. I mean,
not
it's
according to the
only
federal government, and that's the only, that they have the last word,
one?
them.
Them, okay.
Yeah, because I think the others are hooked up.
The
from
other
Foy.
side, on the other side.
From Foy, yeah.
So we could look at the thing is that all this data will be available on supposedly July 20th, so then we can immediately know what we're talking about in terms of exact numbers. Because I can buzz around here and I find one, I find two, but to count them all, you literally just have to go down every road in town, which if I've got time, I'll end up
So
doing.
how many are on, where, Colleen lives?
Tell you in a second.
Where Colleen?
15, 16, 17.
You can get the name of that road.
Did you have your meeting, by the way?
What's that?
The conservation, the
Oh, climate action?
climate action?
Yeah. Just broad ideas. That's why I was hoping Heather was here.
I think we could have 60 or more. Hold on, we've got Dan here. Hey Dan, how are you?
Good. Hey, I'm sorry. I got saw that it was a delay and then I got sidetracked, and so I apologize.
That's okay, I was late here helping out, and we've just been talking about the new guidance for the new round that I'm sure you're aware no one's happy with in the state of Maine.
Are you following any of that? We've done webinars this week.
I haven't been was there, I didn't join the webinar if there was one. Is it scheduled or they already have it?
Yeah, it's online. It's online.
Is it online? Yeah, I'll watch it tonight or tomorrow. So what's the frustration?
Oh, it's how the unserved get served, and they're not paying what we assumed they would pay, on the other, the other round. But they're paying more to providers for various specific build-out costs and technical costs. It's all in the guidance that they the draft application guidance that they just released.
Yeah,
So
I saw that come through. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's just frustration about whether it's worth it for towns like us to keep going, but it appears there's good money available to them for a lot of their costs, providers' costs, if they spell it out and price it. So that's what we're trying to figure out, and we'll know better also how many legitimate unserved people we have once the mapping comes out again in July. Evan was just running through that with us. And before you got here, we also talked about getting out the vote. We've done some outreach. We're going to do more this weekend. We may be overconfident that the votes we got on the budget committee and the select board are going to carry us, because usually that's what happens. People just look at those votes, but we are making calls to people that we don't think normally vote. But
That'll be, yeah,
it's not like
that'll be important. What kind of turnout do you expect? I mean, how many people usually vote in the municipal election or the budget election in June?
I don't think it'll be more than 700, and it'll probably be more than 450. So probably between 500 and it'll probably be in the 500s, I bet.
Yeah.
So we need to count on like 280 realistic. I think that's
Yeah, it's interesting how many people can rule the world in, municipal elections.
Yeah, so hopefully we're not overconfident, but anyway, that's.
Yeah.
And our warrant that we passed says that it's for universal coverage throughout the town, the amount we passed. So I doubt people are going to want to undo that one, if we run into issues. But,
Yeah.
So.
And you haven't seen has there been any organized or organic opposition or concerns? Anybody writing letters to the editor or,
There's been some posting on the community. I don't know if it's been more than one.
no, just been nothing organized, just a couple comments, but there's comments about every other line item that we like to spend money on. We like to spend money around here. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, no, I know. I was at a baseball game this spring in Wiscasset, and somebody mowed the damn grass, and they could have played in higher grass. Didn't have to be that short. So
So that's
what's that?
I said, so that's where it's all going.
Yeah, the grass budget. So yeah, that'll be, and then you have a partner ready to go with you in terms of if you can get the warrant done, but you still got to apply for the Connect the Ready, right? I mean, that's a cornerstone of.
We're waiting for them to realize that. I had a brief discussion with our partner yesterday and just said, hey, you guys have your meeting and understand that if and when we have the municipal commitment, it's very hard to do this twice, so I would try and make it happen. And just being like, you're not gonna get this opportunity again very easily.
Yeah, and I think that's been a challenge with the Maine Connectivity Authority. I mean, a brand new, it's, I think I don't know if I said it to you. I know I've said it to others. It's not unlike the experience we had at the university during the pandemic, where we had entirely new experience and guidance coming, beyond your control fast. I mean, usually you have, a long time to assess and plan for guidance, in any kind of public institution. You know what it is to get a road approved from the Department of Transportation, because it's been that way since power steering was invented. And it's just so different for the Maine Connectivity Authority, and they've got to be responsive to the priorities that are being set, at the federal level with the funders, the federal program funders and partners. And it's a tough environment to operate in, and you want to get people to be active and jump at the opportunities, but you don't know for sure. You don't control all that there is to control, and it makes it hard.
Yeah, no, it's a totally new opportunity we have, absolutely.
Yeah.
But frustrating for some of us that are not as competitive. One of the things they were pushing today, I forgot the guy's name, Chris somebody.
Bonikowski was
What is his position?
he's the person who put the new guidance together, as far as I'm concerned. He's a construction consultant.
Well, he said you might do better, it might behoove you to do more regional partnerships and benefit from some of the unserved and others. And it's like, we've been working with Woolwich and Dresden that have more unserved than we do, particularly, it's not hard to have more unserved than we do. And particularly Dresden, that has a very high mountain, but we don't help them at all. That kind of strategy, I don't know where it does help anybody in our situation. Because it just pulls their numbers down.
Yeah.
So
You're an expensive gate. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, but the other advantage we have is we don't have to float revenue bonds. This money is coming out of existing capital. Where is it? Capital fund, right?
Right.
So we don't have to worry about that. Where some of the guidance was focused on that. What you do about revenue bonds.
Yeah.
The county money.
And we also have density here in the village, relative density compared to a lot of these towns. I don't know.
Right.
That should be a business. That should be favorable.
Exactly, that, and they should realize they're not getting everything for free. At some point, they gotta pony up. What point does it become worth it? 10% off, 15% off? Makes me wonder.
Yeah. Or when somebody else is going to come in and, threaten to compete with the existing provider. So who's the primary existing provider that you have?
We have Spectrum.
Yeah.
And then Consolidated does DSL, and that's it, so.
Yeah. Right. Here in Orono, we have Spectrum, and then Bonnet Speed just put fiber in last fall, and they're slowly hooking houses up to it. And I see a lot more Spectrum trucks around now than I seem to used to, in terms of, and you see more ads for their stuff, and there's just sharpens everybody's pencil when there's somebody else competing for customers. So it's not a bad thing.
Exactly, they're part of the community. I listen to TV and they've got ads going all the time. We're like you. We eat in the same places. What's the take-up? Is there any sense you have of what the take-up rate is for Ghost NetSpeed?
No, I haven't yet. I've been in touch with their marketing team for a couple streets that haven't been where we have underground utilities, and they haven't brought. So they're hooking everybody up who lives on a street with above ground wired utility infrastructure. We've got some streets, including mine, where we have underground utilities, and they went through and they dug the holes for the conduit, and they ran the conduit, but then November came and they left before they were able to run the actual line underground and start installing it in people's homes. So everybody on my streets interested in getting it, but we're not there yet because it's
Are
been
they-
cold. Yeah,
Are
the
they
pipe's in the ground,
promising-
but the wire's not in the pipe. Yeah,
Because Bath has the same problem and they won't go in there and do it.
Yeah.
Um, So, anyway,
So we're all at a wait and see. We're planning a meeting with Consolidated at the end of the month, and hopefully we have a positive vote result, and everybody will have all the mapping data and funding data to make decisions on July the 20th, no, 10th, supposedly, unless they delay it.
so you invited all the Lincoln County towns that are working on this, right?
Yes,
Because Evan is I forget your new title. Do you have-
I'm with the MCA's regional partnership group, the Coastal Maine Regional Broadband, so trying to, with Saginaw, Lincoln, and Knox counties. So trying to be a facilitator for all of this stuff so we can save time, even though some people don't like to do that, haha.
And is anybody but Bath active, Bath and Woolwich active in Saginaw?
I don't think so.
That's it,
No.
or they've already been served?
Pretty much, I think Bowden is pretty well covered by cable. Bodenham has fiber, they're building fiber in Topsom and Rouseck and Georgetown, and so Pittsburgh's done nothing, Richmond's done nothing. That's it, Bath's built out 80% of it, so,
Yeah,
Do you know what the take rate is in Bath?
no, I don't. But I think a lot of people are dropping Comcast over there, switching to go NetSpeed. Which was the next thing I was gonna say, Marty and I talked to Mark Willett today briefly, and he was giving us an update on their projects, and with Georgetown not being fully complete yet, they're at about 70% of signups of take rate, so
well,
they had nothing,
Yeah,
but
I
still,
know.
before it's even done, 70% is pretty good, so
yeah,
kudos to them.
yeah, that's great.
yeah, and they've also got Carlos there who's been, you know, in the middle of this for years, so.
But it makes me wonder if any company coming into a cable town, you should be able to get 35%.
Well, that's what he was
Overnight,
estimating,
yeah.
he estimated we should be able to.
Right.
35%.
So,
Yeah.
You guys use that owl thing down there? Is that what you have in the
It's
select?
audio spotty,
No, the
Yeah.
audio's great. It pans back and forth among you
Oh.
at a breakneck speed.
I wish I could see
Camera
it.
one, camera two, camera one. Yeah.
I'm not at the computer and I'm not online for this,
No,
anyway.
I appreciate it. So I do think you're running into, I mean, you're gonna come into a challenging communication kind of hole, you know what I mean? If you're gonna get, the voters are gonna see that they voted for something, and there's gonna be, you know, it's been approved, you know, assuming it's approved, and then you've got almost a holding it feels like a holding pattern of some sort before you can really communicate assertively about what's next.
totally,
So yeah.
It'll definitely be a 2-month, almost complete blackout period, yeah.
Yeah. At least
Won't be
it's
a-
summer, you know, it's better that it's,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna be quiet, it's best to be July and August, you know, or June and July.
Yeah, well, at least we don't
I
have
don't
to
think
do.
there'll be too many people things around here happen at a snail's pace, so I don't think there's gonna be too many people knocking down our door, but I've been wrong
Yeah.
before, that too, so we'll see.
Oh, we had a couple of those types that showed up at the hearing. They were out of staters that came, you know, that just moved here.
Yeah.
You can tell they
They were the most
they
passionate,
think things happen a lot quicker, I think.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, another thing Mark said, that Spectrum in some places are supplying 100 down and 30 up.
No,
Speed.
I thought they were supposedly at new technology that would get them 100.
pretty much everybody they're involved with, they can get 1,000 down, 35 up, is what they
But
advertise.
what's the new technology that they approved for Spectrum?
DOCSIS 4.0 is a cable thing, so they just extend how far they run fiber, and it's still coaxed on the very last mile end of it.
But they said they tested and they can get 100. That's what I
That's what the
read.
state the state says DOCSIS 4.0 is 100 over 100 and DOCSIS 3.1 is 100 over 20. So they try and stay away from saying people that don't have cable are the only eligible ones, and they come up with this bogus speed data, and then the definition of the speed data is the technology. So, which makes everybody upset that spends all their time doing speed tests and all that, but it's still relevant, still relevant.
100
So-
over 100 is where you want to be, right? Or is 100
We want to be 2,000 over 2,000. We're not even going to stop there, Dan.
nice? Nice.
Blow holes through
But
walls.
that's what the state says is what's served, 100 over
I want to be able to 3D print a killer whale from my bathroom.
100.
Yeah. On your phone.
Right. But yeah, that's what. Go ahead.
Put that on a bumper sticker. You'll get plenty of support for.
Yeah, had some nice ones at the state today that said #fix the damn internet. So that's I guess that's an NTIA federal thing.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, they have their stickers.
Oh, good. So it's worth going up.
Fix the damn internet.
Yeah.
Just for that going up.
Yeah. So will you email me when you get your results? It's going to be, the vote is
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Will you just email me and let me know how it went? And
Sure.
And then,
first 15 people we tell.
I appreciate it. Anything, and sorry again for being late today. Anything else I could help with it? I mean, as you come out of that, I'm happy to help think through, or you happy to draft some stuff, or, I feel like we
Yeah.
spent a lot of time talking, but I don't feel like I've done much production that's, following up on our earlier discussion. So if I can be helpful, please let me know.
Okay,
We
sure.
will.
We definitely will.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Dan. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Yep. I think I'm gonna go to that strawberry festival. Is there a strawberry thing coming up on the back on that bulletin board behind you?
What is that, first weekend in June? No, last weekend in June.
June 24th, Saturday, 10 to 2. Bring your money for the silent auction.
I'll be buying some clipper ships or something, some mono clipper ships. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Take
Bye.
care.
See,
Bye.
move to adjourn.
Yeah, you got more questions or anything else? Anything else we should be doing?
I'm satisfied.
Okay, you wrote the minutes?
We got minutes.
Yeah, okay, so move. Want to vote to adjourn? Motions,
We adjourn.
second, all in favor? Great. Out of here by 3:30. Okay. So the environmental one, you just got all kinds of stuff